Hey, this is Donald Heslop, owner and principal of Padlock Technologies. Here with a different mic, so I'm just trying it out on a new video. But I wanted to talk about a brief topic here of ICE is not a set it and forget it thing. I talk to a lot of people, a lot of clients, and every time I talk to them, when I do an assessment or I'm just getting a gauge of where they are, I understand and I end up hearing the same thing over and over and over and over, which is they thought, ICE is unmanageable. And when you get down to it, it was really like it's a set it and forget it thing because they thought you can go in there, create a couple policies, and then you can just forget about it. But what they don't understand is most environments are dynamic environments. So ICE cannot be static at all because your environment's not static. It's always going to be dynamic. You're always going to get new devices. You're always going to get new users. Always going to need new policies. You might need to tune policies. You might need to change policies. You might need to do a plethora of things. And unfortunately, what I see is this is mostly given to the network team. And again, your network team shouldn't be creating security policy. Your security team should be creating policy. But what ends up happening is through turnover and just natural attrition of things, multiple people are touching ICE over the years. And the worst part about this is the company never has an assessment done ever. They never had an assessment put in since ICE was put into play. So all that junk has just been stacked on top of each other, New person. This person configures something one way versus another person that configures something a different way. And what ends up happening is in the long run, the ICE environment is completely hosed and now they're blaming ICE. And if you looked at my last video, I always say it's not usually ICE, it's usually your implementation or the management of ICE once it's put in. So if you're going to implement something like network access control via ICE or whatever you're going to do, but I'm going to say ICE because that's what, my training is in and what I've been doing for 2 decades. If you're going to implement something like ICE, you need to definitely figure out if you can put the time in to properly manage it. If you can't, then you need to bring someone on board like a co-managed service or a managed service in general to manage that piece of your operations, because that person or that team could make sure your policies are right. If you got anything that needs to be maintained, if you need to optimize something, they can do it for you. When it's time to do the upgrades, they can do it for you. But the other real benefit is you no longer have that silo knowledge in one person. And then if they leave, you're pretty much out of luck, right? You get the continuity of, hey, whether someone goes on vacation or whether they leave, we have a backup plan. That is the whole point of co-managed services. It's to have a backup plan when something happens, when a person leaves, when a person has to get let go, when a person goes on vacation and never comes back for some reason. Hopefully it's not like they died or something like that, but they just don't come back. They just decide, okay, I went on vacation, I thought about it, I don't want to come back. So I guess that falls into if someone leaves. You need to have that continuity. Why? Because if you don't, here's what's going to happen. Person leaves, you spend a crap ton of money trying to bring someone on who says they know it. Now they got to ramp up, and you got to waste another probably 6 to 4 months of wrapping them up to get them familiarized with your network and then familiarized with whatever the implementation was done. Then that person will leave eventually. Long gone are the days where somebody is going to stay at your company for 40 years. IT turnover is basically every 2, maybe 2.5 years. People get new skills and they go off and get better opportunities, and there's nothing you can do about that. So you definitely need to make sure if you're going to get something like ICE and you're going to manage it, whether it's ICE, firewall, whatever, but I'm just strictly talking about ICE, you better have a backup plan in place. You better be prepared to manage it all the way through the life cycle of that appliance or of that deployment. If you are not ready to do that, then you're probably not ready to implement NAC or ICE in your environment. And you need to start thinking about how can we make sure we can support this appliance or this technology or this technique going forward, instead of we just want it right now as a checklist item. So hopefully that was informative. This is Don from Padlock Technologies, once again here to remind you that if you are going to implement NAC in your environment, ISE, ClearPass, whatever, you better make sure you have a plan to manage it all the way through its life cycle, from multiple iterations to personnel, through backup plans, through training regimens, all kind of stuff. You better make sure you have all that in place, or you're going to have a bad NAC experience. Now, that's what I do. I actually been configuring ISE and a plethora of other security appliances for over 2 decades. You might not know if you're ready for ISE. So here's what I do. In the description below, there's going to be a couple of links. If you're someone that is aware that, hey, I want to implement ISE, I just don't know how to do it, the link in the description is going to be a discovery call where we can get on a phone call, see what you're trying to do, see where you're at, and then potentially get you to that different location, that different outcome. Then, if you don't know if you need it or not, what we can do is there's going to be another link in the description for a NAC score, or NAC readiness score quiz. What that score quiz is going to allow you to take a couple questions and see if you're even ready to implement NAC in your environment. If you're not ready to implement NAC in your environment, you'll find the quiz will tell you, hey, you're not ready for this, right? Or even if you say you're not ready, you may say, hey, well, I may be any other consultant to come in and make us ready. That's where I come in. But it'll give you at least some kind of signaling of whether you can implement NAC right now. Maybe you need to make some improvements or optimizations, or whether you just need an assessment. So those links will be in the description. Again, this is Don from Padlock Technologies. Hopefully this video was informative. Thank you and have a nice day.